Hello, and welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know me, I'm best known as Ava Death Dolly. 58 years old, I'm a trans femme, currently homeless here in the City of Angels. I'd like to speak about this so-called ruling on conversion therapy, better known to the rest of us as legalized torture, thanks to the Supreme Court, loaded with Trump appointees who have sided with the state of Colorado to allow this under the guise of free speech. Can you imagine someone appearing before a court arguing on the grounds of free speech, and he produces a white robe, maybe a card that says they are a member of the Ku Klux Klan, and they want the right to walk down into a black neighborhood with a noose, and said this should be protected under free speech? You have to understand how absurd that would sound, how offensive that would sound. Well, this is on the same level to us. Conversion therapy, for those who are not very well familiar with it, it starts off as a verbal manipulation, a series of verbal manipulations until it involves drugs, shaming, and violence, and possibly even surgical attributes such as lobotomies and electroshock treatment. It is, by all definitions by the United Nations, as torture. And there are not only have they made it legal for adults in the United States federal prison system, but they have now legalized and is now protected under the guise of free speech, the right to torture minors. You say you fucking people that are against gender affirming care who have absolutely no idea what that fucking means for minors. You're so fucking concerned. You won't do anything about gun violence, but you're gonna say, hey, this is what needs to be done. No, you don't get to decide. You should stay the fuck out of our affairs. I'll have you know, I was once one of those transgender kids a long time ago, and I lived in fear. They live in fear too. But now they have the added fear that they can be tortured legally and can't do a damn thing about it. First, they try to give them this bullshit, about bringing in religion. Usually it's Christianity. It's always Christianity. Let's face it. Fucking extraterrestrial lies of ancient times imposed upon primitive peoples who fail to understand the misunderstood technology before them and the manipulations of jealous advanced beings who are in competition with other advanced beings seeking to reap the rewards of some of the minerals and assets that were buried here on the ground. The most valuable substance in space, short of platinum, is gold. Why? Because we won't get into ancient astronaut theory, but religion is used very heavy-handedly. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals judge who ruled that states should compel transgender people to appreciate their birth sex. Fuck you. You can pay me. There is nothing I loved about my birth sex. I fucking loathe every second of it. And so do many other transgender people. While some people may be okay with it, peace with it, some of us will never will be. And for you to throw the asinine excuse of torture. This torture involves, again, starts with verbal manipulation. Eventually it leads to force of will, force against the will, injections of drugs, eventually violence, and torture, medical malpractice, electroshock therapy, lobotomies. Hey, they did all this before in the 1950s to gay people. Did it work? No, it didn't. You still have gay people. In fact, you got 19 million of them. And they vote. Unfortunately, they're just still a minority. A minority, you straight men who feel so fucking threatened, who really believe this fucking myth that, someone takes their dick and cuts it off. That is the biggest lie of all time. It's not how it works. But hey, not your fucking problem, okay? Because surgical options are not available to people under 18, okay? Only just the basics, the basic therapies that reaffirms who they are and gives them a chance at life, a life that is better than what they were endowed with. I myself embarked on that path in 1995, and for reasons I won't go into, I tried to survive away from it a little after 9/11, because things became so difficult. You couldn't get your meds, you couldn't cross the border with meds, and there was absolutely no support system at that time. That's how the world was at that time. Difficult. And I thought I could survive. It led to a lot of alcoholism, a lot of medical problems, and substance abuse, and multiple suicide attempts. And the worst came in 2009. It landed me in jail on the false charge of attempted murder. Can you imagine me killing somebody? Actually, some transphobe talking shit, and I just happen to have an ice pick in my hand. I wouldn't think twice about driving that thing in this fucking nutsack. I would happily join a castration squad, but that's another video. Listen, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson argued the point that such torture, such practices are unjust. They are debunked worldwide, and they're considered torture by the United Nations. They're considered ineffective and very harmful. Ultimately, many of the people who have undergone this therapy eventually attempt suicide or other means of self-destruction, which perhaps is the goal of the Heritage Foundation and the sponsors of these evil bills, to force people to conform. I mean, seriously, this fucking regime not only wants to force people in the prison system to do this, but encouraging the complete erasure of our culture, the complete erasure of our total all infrastructure that supports us, that keeps us going, that keeps us alive. We have made so many great strides, all to be teared down by this one evil fucking man who likes to rape little girls. Don't deny it. You know, Eugene Carroll sued for this, was awarded $85 million, and that cheapskate, who's known for never paying his fucking bills, is still going to the Supreme Court to not have to pay. But yet he wants us to pay. 34 felony convictions on fraud, and yet he wants to say, because we're not going with our birth sex on our passports, that we're the fraudsters. Please. Anyway, listen. These people, they say they want to protect children. If they want to protect children, they would do something about gun violence, right? But no, they just ignore the problem. They're just picking and choosing, of course. Torturing children or denying them the care that they need. That's not protecting children, that's harming them. I mean, this regime, first thing they did was eliminate the suicide hotline for trans kids. Why? Because they want them to die. That's why. They want them to fucking die. They don't give a rat's ass that they're children at all. So don't give me this bullshit that's protecting children. They're not protecting children. In fact, they're all in favor of harming children by pushing conversion therapy, pushing this idea that they should be ashamed of who they are, that they should be ashamed for even believing this. Try to put the fear of God into them, to inject chemicals into their bodies against their will that might induce other behaviors, to force them to undergo electric shock therapy to the point their brain no longer functions properly. Perhaps they may not even speak properly, walk properly, maybe even go basic functions like go to the bathroom with enough voltage. You know? A famous interrogator in the Vietnam War. Well, actually, this was actually said also in World War II. You can get about anybody to say just about anything with just enough voltage. And you people who say you're trying to protect children, you're okay with this? You're not. You're You're evil. You're fucking evil. And I'm ashamed of you. As a fellow American, I am deeply ashamed of my fellow Americans that cheer to harm children. I see on Facebook all the fucking time, fucking grown adults taunting grieving mothers whose children have committed suicide because of the harassment, the bullying, the threats, and sometimes the violent attacks that have been waged upon children, waged upon young adults who happen to identify as one of us. And shame on you for laughing. Shame on you for even supporting it. You know, especially you fucking men out there that fucking think this is okay. It's not okay. You're supposed to protect those who can't protect themselves. You know? That's what a real man would do. But, you know, again, I don't recognize this country anymore. Legalized torture, forcing people. I mean, Trump really got off on the idea when he went to Pyongyang that when servile generals and civilian officials, communist officials, would walk into a room and dear leader stood there next to Trump, that they bowed their heads. And he said, it would be really great if Americans did that for him. And that's what he would love. So this idea of gender conformity, next thing you know, you'll want religious conformity. And that's what the Heritage Foundation wants. These people, going back to that fucking traitor from January 6th that, you know, that got me kicked off fucking Twitter, actually, originally. Yeah, and I won't mention that piece of shit's name, but you know who he was. Major General. He's even got a brother who was general as well. You know, they're openly dominionists. They believe that Christian nationalists should control every aspect of human life in this country, every aspect of American life, and there's no room for nonconformity. They want to take away the vote from women. They want to force gender conformity. They want to eliminate marriage equality. They want to control it all. They want to put women back in the kitchens, barefoot and pregnant. And they have convinced you that murdering us will make America great again. It won't. I'll have you know, DHS is building 22 detention camps, most of them in Texas. There's actually one being constructed here in the Warehouse District in downtown LA. And they bought battleship-sized incinerators. For what, you ask? Not to burn paper, files, photos. No. These things can incinerate bone. So they can say, what transgender people? And this is happening under your watch. Don't be those people from Dachau 1945 that stood there wiping human ash and go, we didn't know. Was ist das? We didn't know. Tiny looking Volk. You knew. Those people knew. And if you say nothing, do nothing, look the other way, one day I will be you. And history is watching. The world is watching, and yeah, even these guys, they're watching. So this whole thing, I mean, pushing this idea of legal torture in the United States on American soil to minors, it's bad enough if you want to do this to adults, but to minors, that's fucking evil. Let's face it. And I don't know what's worse, the torture or the idea that so many Americans are okay with it. I don't recognize this country anymore, and it makes me ashamed to be an American. I won't fly the American flag until it returns to its senses. Until that time, bury me in the fucking transgender flag. That better represents me, because you people sure as hell don't anymore. And I'm deeply ashamed of you. It breaks my heart. My father fought in Vietnam and spent 30 years wearing our country's uniform, defending us against Soviet tyranny and communism. Flew with the Air National Guard. Participated in a lot of operations many of you probably never heard of, you know, in El Salvador and elsewhere. South America, Europe. It would break his heart if he were still alive to see what's become of his country. A country he so proudly served and believed in. That very country that poisoned him with Agent Orange in Vietnam. Kind of led to some of my problems, you're saying. But he wouldn't believe it. Not even on his deathbed, he wouldn't believe it. That his own country betrayed him. Right now, that same country is betraying me and every other person like me. We feel very betrayed. It's sadness. And you say, well, if you don't love America, just leave it. Well, guess what? Donald Junk and Marco Rubio, you piece of shit, pedazo de mierda, pendejo, puñeta. Mira, these motherfuckers have made it so we can't get a passport, we can't get an exit visa, we can't leave the country, we can't even travel, nothing. I can't see relatives in other countries. They put us in a kill box. You realize almost over 450,000 American citizens who are transgender have been forced to flee their home states, flee west. I am now limited to 13 states I can travel in. And even then, I have to watch my back, just like I have to do here even. That breaks my heart. Listen, just understand that torture, it's a human rights violation. Conversion therapy is debunked and classified as torture. The idea that Ninth Circuit Court judge wants to encourage states to compel transgender Americans to appreciate the birth sex, fuck you. Ain't gonna happen. Hated every second of it. I'll never love anything about my birth sex. And neither will these kids that you are scaring the shit out of and harming. None of this has worked before, and it won't work again. There are survivors of conversion therapy, and they'll tell you it's torture and it's harmful. And these are just the ones that didn't commit suicide. And these deaths, they're all on the people who are all for it. And it's sad that this is happening, what once was the land of the free. Listen, we're standing on the verge of what they're calling transgender genocide. I will say this once again, only you can prevent it. Please speak up before it's too late. Thank you.